Welcome to Above Replacement Radio. I am your host, Chris Gianta. You know what Christy Mathewson wasn't worried about? SIERA. When you're thinking about Pedro Ciriaco, I mean, the only one that can compete is maybe Hannes Wagner's 1908 season. Over there on the other side of the screen is Daniel Kern.
Like, if we just clip together every time we've talked about him on other people's profiles, we've done a Mickey Cochran episode.
I can't get past Rabbit Marinville. It's not necessarily Hall of Fame. It's not necessarily above average, but we can guarantee you we are better than just the standard replacement level college sophomore.
And welcome to Above Replacement Radio. We're talking baseball kind of whenever. I'm your host, Chris Gianta. Over there on the other side of the screen is Daniel Kern. How you doing, Daniel?
Chris, I am doing well today. We have our last podcast of the first half today.
Yes, we do.
Kind of crazy.
Yeah, pretty crazy. Technically a little over halfway, but yeah, first last show of the first half of the year before the All-Star break. We are going to be getting into a little bit of the All-Star festivities in this episode. But before that, major news coming north of the border with Charlie Montoyo, manager of the Blue Jays, being fired. Just straight up, not being called for his duties anymore. What were your takeaways from this one?
Yeah, I mean, I guess, it's weird because I've never considered the idea of this happening, but now that it has, it kind of makes sense. I mean, the Blue Jays are 47-43 on the season. They are 10-18 since June 16th of this year. And this is a team that, it's weird because they only have technically 2 games worth of playoff experience that really don't even count. But this is a team that was supposed to win this division. A lot of experts had them at the top. They looked like the most complete team at the beginning of the year. And there's just been a lot of underperformance, especially in the rotation. You look at guys like Jose Barrios, who just have been struggling. Hyunjin Ryu's been hurt. You have gotten good performances out of Alek Manoah and Kevin Gausman, but as a unit, not exactly what people had hoped. Bullpen has been talented enough, but the usage has been weird. The stats I don't think reflect how talented that bullpen is, and that largely is due to the management. Yeah, absolutely. It's
just kind of odd. It's like, the Blue Jays haven't been a disaster, but yes, they definitely have been underperforming. And I think usually you associate firings, like a mid-season firing, with a disaster. Example number one is, I think Joe Madden got fired during, I think the losing streak was at 12, 13 games or something like that.
Yep.
When Joe Madden got fired. The Phillies were 7 games below 500 in May when Joe Girardi got fired. This is kind of a thing where they've been doing poor for the last month, and overall in the season they're 4 games above 500 right now, when they should be probably more 12 games above 500. That's kind of what they should be on track for, but it's not the case. And Charlie Montoyo is in his 4th year there, this kind of rebuild that the Blue Jays were planning on hasn't come to fruition quite yet. And it seems like Toronto, it might just be that they're making the move 3 months earlier than maybe they would have. They probably were going to end up making this move at some point, and they just happened to make it in the middle of the season.
Yeah, exactly. So I mentioned June 16th as the day where all this really started falling apart. Their 10-18 record is the 3rd worst in Major League Baseball over that time. The only teams that have been worse are the Oakland Athletics and the Washington Nationals. Every team has had a better record than the Blue Jays since June 16th. And the problem has pretty clearly been their pitching, just as a whole. They're the only team with negative F4 out of their pitchers since June 16th. They're at minus 0.1. Of course, that is in last. And primarily it's been the bullpen, but I'll get to the rotation first because the rotation has a 5 ERA. That is the worst in the league. Five, actually, no, it's not the worst in the league. It's the third worst. But they have a 5.10 ERA in the rotation and a 4.76 FIP. They have 0.6 FWAR, which is ranked 27th in the league.
Yeah. Yeah. Like the rotation, I mean, it's weird because like you have your guys that are doing great, like Kevin Gosman and Alek Manoah, but I don't know. It seems like Jose Barrios has just been that bad, and then I don't know, like even like Ross Stripling has been good. So I mean, I'm thinking of their rotation. Like they have Manoah, Gosman, Stripling, Barrios, and I don't know who their other starter has been like. I don't know who they've been going with other than that.
I mean, I can check that right now.
Yeah, it makes me curious of what the individual statistics have been since
they
June
started a guy
16th.
named Castillo on Sunday against Max Castillo against the Mariners. I know that, but he only made one start and it was fine. I'm going since June 16th. Let me take a look at that one real quick.
Yeah, I'm doing the same because yeah, I like given how Gosman
Yusei Kikuchi's been rough.
Yeah, that's the other guy.
Five very good strikeout numbers, oddly enough, 11.3 per nine, but 5.65 walks per nine and 3.14 home runs per nine. That is abysmal.
Yeah, and that's good for a 6.28 ERA and an 8.06 FIP in this since June 16, and that's 4 starts, 14 and a third innings pitched. So he's barely getting 3 innings a start.
But the big problems have been out of the bullpen, not just or specifically in the span. Their bullpen ERA or their bullpen FWAR, sorry, is the second worst at minus, I believe, 0.7. It's been a rough go for them, no doubt. And I mean, like Jordan Romano has still been fine. He's their closer, but you know, if you're not winning games, not a whole lot of games to close out. Trent Thornton has been the main problem. 12 and 2/3 innings pitched out of the bullpen. Man, 6.39 home runs per or strikeouts per nine, 4.26 walks and home runs per nine.
Oof.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, they also just added Sergio Romo. That hasn't been great for them.
Right. Yeah, also looking, there's Casey Lawrence, who it appears he's appeared in 3 games in 12 and a third innings. So it looks like he's doing long relief work. So maybe that's not a big thing, but he has a 9.49 ERA in this span.
Right. Yeah.
Adam Simber has a 5.11 ERA in this span, although a 3.03 FIP. But you know, the run prevention hasn't been there, so you could put that just on the team in general. But yeah,
these are a lot of talented guys that just haven't been getting it done, and that can be pointed to by the manager. They have a 4.71 ERA as a unit, the bullpen, since June 16th. 1.57 home runs per nine. That is the second highest in the majors over that span.
Yeah. Or what's that? Did you say they were second highest in?
Home runs per nine and also FWAR.
Yeah.
Lowest in FWAR at negative 0.7.
Yeah, if you're giving up home runs at a crazy rate, you know, that leads to some losses where there shouldn't be losses. Yeah. So, you know, there's been underperformance, and yeah, I think general management is going to point to the manager, and I guess they just wanted to rip the Band-Aid off and see if, you know, I mean, they're still in a playoff spot.
I don't think they are.
Or I don't know.
I think they're like just out right now. Or maybe they're tied. They're tied for the last wild card spot. That's what they are.
Yeah.
Them and the Red Sox are both 47 and 43.
yeah, that wild card race, it's like it's almost turning into a just a race of mediocre. There's like no one, like everyone in that
Nobody wants
race.
it. Nobody wants it except for the Orioles.
Yes. Yeah.
And yeah, the Mariners are already going for the second wild card spot. Like they're past that point. Um, but yeah, between the Red Sox, Blue Jays, Orioles, Guardians, and White Sox, like who are all within 2.5 games of the third wild card spot. The only team that truly wants it is Baltimore.
Yeah. Yeah. um, but yeah, like yeah, the Blue Jays, they have a playoff spot as of now, but I guess they're thinking about like, all right, when we get into the playoffs, who do we want at the helm? And I guess the answer was not Charlie Montoyo.
Yeah.
Um,
So it'll be interesting to see how they go from here. Um, just not just like organizationally, but just as a team on the field, obviously.
um, yeah, that's true. I mean, I don't know exactly who's the interim manager right now.
I could not even tell you. I think it was just whoever the bench coach was.
Yeah. Um, yeah, so I don't know, maybe that could work out. Always hard to always hard to tell. We can tell you based on other other in-season firings. It's worked out for the Phillies. It hasn't worked out for the Angels.
Yes,
So I
very
don't
much
know.
hasn't worked out for the Angels.
Yeah. Um, but yeah, any more thoughts on the Charlie Montoyo firing?
Not that I can really think of. I don't know. I think this was definitely an unexpected one. I know that there's been a lot of just word coming out of Toronto about the manager, the person he was. I think Bo Bichette. This could have been taken out of context, but Bo Bichette said that he like didn't disagree with the move. That probably doesn't affect. That probably doesn't like involve his relationship with Montoyo. I think it's just the team needed some sort of change, and that was the one.
Right, right.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I think Charlie Montoyo will find work again. I think one of the two teams that just fired a manager could probably use him.
Um, yeah. Oh yeah, for sure. For sure. Um, so yeah, the Blue Jays fired Charlie Montoyo. And the next bit of news we'll get into is the home run derby field is filled out and it's very good. I really
It's a
like it.
great field.
Do you wanna go over the field?
Sure. So the number one seed with I believe 28 home runs is Kyle Schwarber. From there it is Pete Alonso with the 2 seed, Juan Soto or Corey Seager at the 3 seed. That's basically the Dodgers representative, even though it's not really a Dodger.
Yeah,
Juan Soto is the 4 seed. Jose Ramirez is the 5 seed. That's going to be a sick matchup.
yeah, yeah, for
Soto
sure.
versus. I wonder if Ramirez will hit lefty or righty.
Yeah, that's a great question.
It'll probably be lefty, but
Well,
it'll be interesting.
thinking about Dodger Stadium,
It's
I
pretty
feel like
even on both sides.
I feel like if I'm not confusing, I feel like righty might, or I feel like if he goes up lefty and goes to right field, it might be easier. Actually, yeah, go, yeah. What are the 6, 7, and 8 seeds?
Julio Rodriguez is the 6 seed. Ronald Acuna Jr. is the 7 seed, which is hilarious.
Yeah, that's funny.
And then Albert Pujols is the 8 seed. That's obviously a very cool a thing that he's competing. I'm going to be honest, Chris. My initial takeaway, I've said this every year that we've covered the home run derby on this show, which has only been once, but they don't need to know that. Uh, People forget the 1 seed hasn't made it out of the first round since 2016. Stanton lost to Gary Sanchez in 2017. Reese Hoskins defeated Jesus Aguilar in 2018. This one didn't really count, but Vlad Jr. defeated Matt Chapman in 2019. And then last year, Juan Soto defeated Shohei Ohtani. I think that streak's coming to an end this year.
Yeah, most likely, because I
Like
mean,
Albert Pujols versus Kyle Schwarber. Pujols has 5 home runs.
yeah,
He's also like the last time he did the home run derby was 2015, which is the first year that they did like time limits in the seating. And even then, it was a much like if you just watch the 2015 home run derby and compare it to the 2021 home run derby, they're two entirely different games. Like the 2015 derby actually had the rule where the ball had to land before the guy could even begin throwing the next pitch. They basically did away with that eventually. And we've seen a lot of guys in the last couple of years just get completely gassed at like midway through the rounds, and you could see it very clearly. And I don't know, 42-year-old Albert Pujols, when 21-year-old Ronald Acuna Jr. was gassed after the last round in 2019, I find it hard to believe that he's gonna really put on a show. But it'll be cool to see him up there, no doubt.
Yeah, absolutely. And by the way, I did the digging, and yeah, as you said, Dodger Stadium is completely even. It's 330 down the line, both sides, 385 to both left center and right center, and 395 to dead central. Yeah, I think that streak comes to an end as well, because also we've seen Kyle Schwarber in the Derby before. He made it to the final round in 2018 against Bryce Harper, and Schwarber's probably better now. I don't know if that necessarily has to do with I don't know if that is going to translate to the home run derby, but he is a better hitter right now.
He's a more prominent home run hitter now, no doubt.
Yeah. And yeah, I think I'd be shocked if Pujols put together a better round than Schwarber. That would be pretty crazy to watch. I mean, it would be fun to watch for sure, but yeah. I'd be shocked.
I think the fact that, just other takeaways, I think the fact that younger guys like Soto and Acuna, and obviously Alonso for more obligation reasons, are coming back to do it for a second or third time. Like, that's really promising for the future, because we see plenty of guys do it once or just not do it at all and be like, all right, that's it for me. These guys, these three are going to make up a big part of the future, especially Soto and Acuna. So the fact that they're just doing it again, that's very encouraging for the future. And to see guys like Julio Rodriguez as a rookie this year entering it, especially if the Derby is going to be in Seattle next year, very encouraging for the future of this competition.
Yeah, exactly. I definitely understand if guys don't want to do it, but everyone would have been excited to see Aaron Judge do this do this again, or even Giancarlo Stanton. We haven't seen, or actually no, Stanton did it in 2017, and then
he did do it in 17, and then he never did it again.
Yeah,
but it was also in Miami, so he probably felt a little more obligated to do so.
Yeah, exactly.
Wasn't Justin Bour in that Derby?
2017. Yeah, I remember.
Wow, it's fun to find like random guys who did the home run derby.
Oh yeah, for sure. That Justin might be the most random.
Miguel Sano was in it.
Yeah.
Okay, so 2017, Miguel Sano and Mike Moustakas. Makes sense. Gary Sanchez versus Giancarlo Stanton. Charlie Blackmon versus Cody Bellinger. And then Justin Bour versus Aaron Judge. The Marlins had two players in that derby. That's interesting. I'm just gonna go by year, just because that's fun. 2018, like obviously I remember Jesus Aguilar. I remember Bryce Harper, Rhys Hoskins. I think Javier Baez was in that derby. Freddie Freeman, Kyle Schwarber, Max Muncy, and Alex Bregman. It's a decent crowd.
Yeah, that's a good crowd, especially like Alex Bregman was in a. That was like his offensive prime.
Yep.
Almost.
I'm going to go backwards here and look at 2016. Mark Trumbo was the 1 seed. Corey Seager did it that year. So this is not Corey Seager's first time doing it.
Yeah.
That's pretty cool.
Mark Trumbo was in the home run derby multiple times.
The greatest thing about this home run derby was Giancarlo Stanton getting in as the 5 seed, because he had a dreadful slump in the first half of 2016. So the fact that Robinson Cano went up there as the 4 seed and hit 7 home runs was just the funniest thing ever.
Yeah.
Because Stanton went up and hit 24, which was like generational for that time. And the great thing about the home run derby is when guys in lower seeds put on a show, because Like when you're the 1 seed, you just got to stop with like 2 minutes left on the clock.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's like, it's weird because you remember the big performances. Like when you think of the 2019 home run derby, Pete Alonso won, but your mind probably goes to Vlad Guerrero Jr. first because he was the 8 seed and they just let him hit as many homers as he wanted for, the entire round. And then obviously he ended up facing Jock Peterson in that exciting semifinal round.
Yeah. 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 Yeah.
2016 though, Mark Trumbo was the 1 seed. Corey Seager was the 8 seed. Robinson Cano for Stanton. Adam Duvall versus Will Myers, who was the San Diego representative. Todd Frazier, who had won the previous year. And then Carlos Gonzalez is the 7 seed.
Nice.
2015 now. Todd Frazier won it. Albert Pujols versus Chris Bryant, and Pujols won in the first round. Jock Peterson versus Manny Machado. And then Peterson. I remember I had Peterson beating Pujols that year, and I had like my Instagram account, and everyone was like, "You got Peterson beating Pujols?" And I was like, "Yeah, I do. Watch this." And then he did. Josh Donaldson is the 3 seed versus Anthony Rizzo, and then Todd Frazier versus Prince Fielder. Prince Fielder, that guy was awesome at home run derbies.
Oh yeah, I mean he won 2 of them
twice, right?
Yeah,
one in Kaufman,
one in St. Louis. He was the king of Missouri.
Yeah,
yeah.
Facts. Yoenis Cespedes won twice. Yes. Obviously, Pete Alonso has won twice. Prince Fielder has won twice. Home run derbies are just a fun time. Like it is the highlight of All-Star Week. The All-Star game objectively isn't that good.
Yeah, it's not. It is. Yeah, it's kind of like if I missed it, I'm not bummed out about it.
No, like I'd rather watch it. I'm gonna watch the whole game.
Yeah, me too.
And I'll probably be live tweeting it. I'll probably be doing some StatCast things.
Yeah.
But the game itself, man, not great.
Right.
They need to switch things up somehow.
All right. Well, do we want to predict this home run derby?
Oh geez, I haven't even done it yet. I feel like I need a little more time.
Do it on the fly.
Let's do that on Monday.
Are we recording Monday?
Yeah, why not? Oh, maybe Tuesday. Oh wait, no, the derby is Monday. Yeah, this is the last show we're gonna do before the derby. Okay, I'll do a bracket here, but my actual bracket will probably be changed once I put a little more research in.
Okay, so we'll have the gut bracket.
Yeah, the gut bracket. All right, you want to start off?
Yeah, I mean, Schwarber versus Pujols, I'll take Schwarber.
I will as well. Yeah.
Pete Alonso versus Ronald Acuna Jr.
Does Pete Alonso have the pitching coach throwing to him like he did last year?
Gotta hope so.
If he does, I'm taking him because I swear that dude had aimbot on.
Yeah.
Every pitch was in the perfect place.
Yeah, I'm gonna take Pete Alonso there.
Yeah.
Then you have Corey Seager versus
Julio. I might take the upset here.
You're taking Julio?
I'm gonna take the upset, yeah.
I'll take Seager because I think he just has a very good swing and he's very used to that stadium as well. And I think, I just think he has a very consistent swing. But I wouldn't be surprised if Rodriguez won it.
And Soto versus Ramirez. I'm taking Soto.
Yeah, I'll take Soto as well. Jose Ramirez, it's weird because he doesn't hit bombs. But I think he has a very consistent swing. And he knows how to hit home runs. He pulls most of his home runs. But I don't know. I think Soto I think he'll take that. So then that would lead to we have
Schwarber versus Soto.
Schwarber versus Soto.
I'll take Soto in this one, and I'll do that because if you remember last year, Soto came in as the 8th seed. He put on that show in the first round. Shohei Ohtani ended up tying him, and he was very clearly gassed in the second round after a full round plus a tiebreaker and in Coors Field. I think he's going to be the 4th seed, so if he wins the first round, he won't have to use all the time unless it comes down to another tiebreaker. But I think he'll be much more rested before the second round in this one, so I would take Soto over Schwarber.
Yeah, this is a hard one to pick for sure. Yeah, I mean, there's solid arguments for both. But yeah, I'm kind of leaning towards Soto here as well. So I guess I'll go Soto there. And then we have two different matchups. I have Seager versus Alonso. You have Rodriguez versus Alonso. Who are you going with?
I'm taking Pete.
Yeah, I'm gonna go with Pete Alonso as well.
Yeah. So then we both have a Soto Alonso final.
Yeah.
And I'm gonna take Pete. I'm taking Pete.
Yeah,
Pete's winning this thing again.
I'll go with Pete Alonso until he loses.
That's exactly my thought. Like, if you just watch the Derby last year, and I did this admittedly last year when I was watching Pete Alonso, it was like, man, why didn't I pick him? This seems so obvious. I don't want to make that mistake again, and I'd rather accidentally be wrong here than hate myself for not being right if he wins.
Yeah, that's probably I'm probably picking home run derby the same way in the future. I'll be picking AL MVP.
Yep.
Like Shohei till he loses. It's Pete Alonso.
It's because like you want to get it right, and you know, if you don't pick Shohei and he wins it for MVP, like you're just gonna hate yourself. It's like, yeah, obviously he was going to win it. Why wouldn't he? And that's how I felt watching Pete Alonso last year. Was why wouldn't he win this Derby? So yeah, that's my mindset. I'm going with Pete Alonso.
Yeah, absolutely. So yeah, pretty similar predictions from us. Not a surprise. All right. Well, that leads into our interview with second interview with Mark Simon. A pleasure to have him on once again. Defensive correspondent, as Daniel established that title earlier, and Mark really appreciated that title. He sent a tweet out yesterday actually.
Did he?
It. Yeah. But yeah, he appreciated it. And yeah, we talked about different teams having different trends in defense, most notably the Yankees and Giants. He gave great explanations as to why that was happening. Also touched on some individuals like Starling Marte, Jonathan Scope, and yeah, just kind of gave his general takeaways from the season. So yeah, here's our interview with Mark Simon, part 2. And we are here happy to be joined by Mark Simon. We established him earlier, first of all, without him, as our defensive correspondent. So happy to be joined by you. How have you been, Mark?
I'm great, and I love the title. Thank you for calling me that. I think I will. I think I might be using that from now on.
Yeah, we love it. So, Daniel, did you want to maybe introduce first question?
Yeah. So, I mean, the last time we spoke to you, it was going into the World Series, and obviously a lot has happened since then. We are a little over 3 months into this season. What have just been some of your biggest takeaways from the 2022 season thus far?
Dominance of the Yankees certainly would be at the very top of the list, and Aaron Judge and everything that he's done this season. I think the New York baseball scene as a whole, they have two teams that are probably, not definitely, but have a pretty fair shot to win 100 games. That's been one really cool aspect of things. Otherwise, I think the decline in home runs certainly was a bigger thing earlier in the season. It's a little less so now, and I'm glad that that's tapered off a bit. You're going to see some changes next year, I would imagine. I don't know if they will go all out to some of the things that they're talking about. But the batting averages right now are just, batting average doesn't necessarily mean anything people say, but they've just sunk. And there are too many games where teams just look kind of lost at the plate. And I think we need to get back to this will pull my age, I guess. We need to get back to like a 1980s-ish more approach to things, kind of combined with this modern approach where you can string together a few hits. Like I was looking just, I'll give you one, like I was looking at like Tristan McKenzie yesterday, and it's like, if you don't hit a home run against him, it's like, you're kind of stuck. Now he's given up a fair number of home runs, and it's not like he has a 2 ERA, but it shouldn't be like that. Like you should have a fair shot, a more fair shot to get a hit. So that's something that has stood out to me. And then I guess some of the team surges that we've seen recently have been pretty cool. The Braves certainly, for one, showing that they're living up to what they did last season. And then more recently, it's cool to see the Mariners and the Orioles having their moment at this point in the season. I don't know if those will last, but it's cool to see nonetheless.
You mentioned Tristan McKenzie and how you were watching him yesterday. I actually watched his brother play yesterday.
Neat.
Yeah, he has a younger brother who goes to Vanderbilt and currently plays for the Keene Swampbats of the New England Collegiate Baseball League. And I was down there yesterday taking in some doubleheader action.
Nice. Is his brother like similar build to him?
I mean, I have never seen Tristan in person, but from what I gather on the TV, Tristan looks like pretty tall.
Yep,
like
6'5", 165.
Yeah. I didn't quite get that vibe with TJ. He's a center fielder, not a pitcher.
Yep.
So, I didn't get quite the same vibe, but he's still very good, no doubt.
Cool.
So 1980s baseball. Are you big into base running?
Am I big into base running? I'm modestly into base running. Yeah, I don't know that we need to go back to the days of the St. Louis Cardinals and 200 and whatever stolen bases and Vince Coleman and Willie McGee and those guys. But I think just a little more action would certainly make it a more appealing sport at this point.
Yeah, I love having active base running, stolen bases being part of the game for sure. Like, I think that's one of the things that one of the big exciting things about like Julio Rodriguez coming up is, he's, I think, still leading the league in stolen bases. And last year the stolen bases leader might have had, I think he had less than 40. I forget who it was, but usually it, 10 years ago it was like, up to 50. And obviously like 40 years ago it was near 100, but it might be hard to get back there. But yeah, having some more stolen base action might be fun for the game.
Yeah, I just, if you think about it, I think a pitch like it's over in a split second. You want something that kind of prolongs the moment. Like I was talking with someone about an inside the park home run the other day, and how that's like such a super cool play because it's 15 to 20 seconds of jam-packed excitement. Because there's the moment where the fielder might catch the ball and then there's the moment where something weird happens that leads to the batter having a chance. And then there's the moment where the batter picks up speed and really tries to turn it on. And then there's the moment where the batter slows down because he's running 360 feet. And then there's the moment where he tries at the very end to score, and you get like 6 really cool things happening in just one baseball play. Now, we don't need inside the park home runs, but more triples, more doubles certainly add a little excitement to the game.
Yeah, the thing about inside the park home runs is that like something weird has to happen, because you don't just straight up get a guy that circles the bases like on a ball in the gap. Like anytime there's an inside the park home run, you hear about it, you're like, I got to see what happened here. Like how did the defense let that one happen?
Right. Like the one that I'm referring to is from 2005, and it was Steve Finley kicking a ball that he just missed catching. Like he tried to make a shoestring catch, he just misses it, and the momentum of his running leads him to kick the ball like 20 yards away probably, and then they have to run and chase it down, and the guy's doing what I said, he's picking up speed, and then it's 360 feet, and now I'm starting to slow down, then you get a really cool play at the plate. Anyway, that's my little spiel on that, I guess.
I remember in I think it was 2015, it was like the first spring training game of the year for the Red Sox, and Alan Craig hit an inside the park home run. But because it was the first game of spring training, there was just no footage of it for whatever reason, and the world never got to know what that looked like. So there was an Alan Craig inside the park home run somewhere out there, but nobody really knows if it actually happened or not because there's no footage.
It's like the remnants of the World Series is from 100 years ago.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. They just have, they have the actual film where he looks like he's going 50% faster than he actually is.
Yep.
Yeah. I mean, I agree with, like, if you're at a ballpark and like, even just like a triple happens like that, you can feel the crowd, like everyone's into it for those, 10 seconds. It's like, oh, he's going for third. It's a head first slide. Anyway, back to, that's, a very, very interesting conversation to have for sure. You mentioned one of your takeaways from the season, dominance of the Yankees. And obviously there's a lot of factors with that. And one of them has been defense. They actually lead, or as of a couple of days ago, and I think they still do, they lead in team defensive runs saved. A lot of that seems to be with some of the additions they've made. What have you taken away from the Yankees' improvement in their defense?
Yeah, so this is one of those things that's, I think, fairly like not hard to show from a statistical perspective. The Yankees are just a much better team this season at one of the most important things that you can be good at, which is turning ground balls into outs. They did not do it at a particularly good rate last year. I think last year they were at 29th in defensive runs saved. This year they are, I don't know if they're number one. I think the Cardinals might be number one, but they're up among the top teams, and their improvement, I believe it's them and the Red Sox. The last time I checked it, it was them and the Red Sox that were the two most improved teams at turning ground balls into outs. Now that's happened a lot on the left side of the infield with a couple of new additions with Isaiah Kiner-Falefa at shortstop and Josh Donaldson, who plays in tandem at third base with DJ LeMahieu. And third base for the Yankees in defensive runs saved, they're like off the charts at that. So that's one thing that's happened, is just that the ground balls that have been hit, a lot fewer of them are getting through, and that's a product of a combination of positioning, which we take into account, and just good skill, which those guys have. Kiner-Falefa has won a Gold Glove. Donaldson in the past had been a really good fielder. DJ LeMahieu had been excellent at second base in the past. Glaber, who had been good, then poor, is now good again. And the other thing with the Yankees that kind of slipped, I know you like under the radar, Jose Trevino, catcher, really good at pitch framing, really good at pitch blocking, miles and miles better than Gary Sanchez at both. And that's another area where the Yankees have, they've essentially peaked. They're atop the sport at the moment in catcher run saved. And Trevino is the guy that is catalyst of that.
You mentioned IKF, and that was a big storyline going into the Yankees season because there was obviously the big shortstop free agent market. The Yankees, not only did they not get one of those shortstops, but they got IKF, who some could have probably viewed as a downgrade offensively, but he came in with very good defensive numbers. He was a rare catcher shortstop combo. How much do you appreciate a moment like that where the Yankees could have had anyone at shortstop and they went with a guy solely for defense, and it's obviously been paying off?
Yeah, kudos to Brian Cashman, I guess, for that. And he hasn't hit. Like, he hasn't hit at all.
Oh, not at all.
Like he's got a 640 OPS at the time that we're taping this.
I believe he has a 67 weighted runs created plus since the beginning of May.
Yeah, he's shabby on the offensive side, but on the defensive side, like, he's not like flashy and he's not like great. Like right now he's at 3 runs saved, but I know that earlier in the season he was in the negatives. So I know that he's been trending up there. Mm-hmm. And it's kind of like Paul DeYoung, who was on the Cardinals, who got demoted after he didn't hit it all this year, but it's kind of like that he makes the plays that he's basically supposed to make, and he plays a lot. So he keeps a worse defender on the bench. Like, he's essentially keeping that replacement level defensive player on the bench because he can play 95% of the games. And he's done that this year for them. He doesn't have to be like a superstar with that team. He just has to be like not what Gleyber Torres was in some previous seasons for them.
Absolutely. I mean, anytime you can keep him away from short, you're going to have a much better time.
And yeah, with one last thing on the Yankees is so like you see things from a more like defensive lens in terms of player evaluation. And people like maybe like myself who, I see, the Yankees, oh, what are their offseason additions? Oh, it's Trevino, it's IKF, it's Josh Donaldson, who, he's not hitting like he did in 2015. I probably didn't see the Yankees as much of a threat. I had them in fourth place before the year started, by the way. Did you kind of forecast maybe, did you forecast a different future for the Yankees possibly because you saw such a great improvement in defensive players, or just general defense based on their additions?
That's a good question. You've got me actually searching on Twitter now to see if I can find my 2022 predictions, because so I always do this. I always pick the Yankees I think in the time I've been doing this, I think I always pick the Yankees to win the AL East. I had them at 94 wins. And
that's going to be way off.
I think I always, it is, but I didn't think it was going to be short. I always picked them to get to the World Series. I don't know. It's kind of like a reflexive habit. In fact, I'm looking, my AL East picks were Yankees 94, Blue Jays 93, Red Sox 92, Rays 90, and then Orioles 59.
they're gonna be there by the end of July.
Yeah, exactly. So what did I see in the Yankees? I think so. Whenever I do this, I always factor in that the Yankees are going to make moves on July 31st to bolster the team. And then I look at the current roster and I look at Judge and I figure that Judge is going to be good. And I just look at the combination of all the veteran players that they have. And I figure that enough of them are going to be pretty good that they're just going to be a very solid team. I had no idea Clay Holmes was going to do what he's done. I had no idea Nestor Cortez was going to be what he was going to be. The 94 pick was largely based probably around Cole, Montgomery, Taillon, maybe with a touch of Severino, Chapman, Rizzo, Judge, Stanton, Gallo. I just feel that the accumulation of players there was just too good. I couldn't have picked a lot of the things that went right. And I will say I did absolutely think they were going to be a much better defensive team. I don't know that I necessarily thought they were going to be this good.
Yeah. And transitioning from a team that has made a great improvement defensively to a team who almost inexplicably has made a giant downgrade in defense, despite not a lot of offseason moves. They didn't necessarily move anybody away, but the San Francisco Giants, they went from a very good defensive team last year to a very bad defensive team this year. I think they're bottom 3 in defensive runs saved right now. I haven't really been able to find an explanation. Any explanation you can provide?
Sure, I can walk you through this. As a matter of fact, and I will tout that we are, I guess you would call us the unofficial statisticians of the San Francisco Giants TV and radio broadcasts. We provide them some assistance, which is a cool project that I've worked on for the last, I guess, since I've been here. So this will be 5 years. So the Giants are, the shame of the Giants is that they are very, very good at putting guys in the right spots to make plays, but the execution has been totally lacking. And that's true at second base. That's true at third base. That's true at shortstop. Those 3 in particular. On the infield, Brandon Crawford has shown a little bit of his age this year compared to past performance, certainly compared to last year. Third base, Longoria has been up and down. Second base, Tyro Estrada, his numbers are not particularly good. They're the thing that I said about the Yankees with the increase in turning ground balls into outs. It's like the opposite is true for the Giants. They've had this major decline in that. They're sacrificing a little bit by putting Jock Peterson in the outfield, and as a result of that, and also I think Darren Ruff a little bit, they've had some balls get over guys' heads that weren't getting over guys' heads last year. So yeah, and remember too that they don't have Buster Posey. They didn't have Brandon Belt for an extended period of time. And again, the shame of it is that like you'll see it's like a ground ball right at someone and something goes wrong. Or they've gotten bit a few times by ground ball in front of someone where he has to kind of charge a little bit and they can't make the play. Yeah, I think that's a fairly brief summary of where they stand right now. And I'll note, I can't do that for every team. You hit the one team that I can do that for. We cover the Giants and the Tigers. We help their broadcast crews. So those are two teams that I can speak a little more about than I might normally would.
How familiar are you with the season that Alex Cobb is currently having?
Oh yeah, okay. I'm glad that you said that.
Poor guy.
The shame of that is similar. That's the issue. Is like, and it's Tyler Rogers too, that there have been a lot of ground balls where like things went wrong, whether it was a weird hop or a ball that got muffed or a double play that didn't get turned. Alex Cobb's numbers should be considerably better than what they are. This is something that we've alerted the broadcast crew to a number of times, and they've talked about it, that his ERA is about a run and a half higher than his FIP. It was a similar situation last year. I'm sure when he signed with the Giants, he thought he was going to a good defensive team that was going to fix things. His ERA would be 3. Not the case.
I mean, like, he's literally a sinker baller. Like, he is designed to give up as many ground balls as possible.
Yep. And it's unfortunate for him. And again, it's a case of just the execution not being there in the field.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. We actually have a YouTube short on him on our YouTube page, and yeah, we did some digging, and I think it was before his last start we came up with the stats. Hitters were hitting 302 on ground balls against him. League average is 238.
That's good. That's the way you should research it, basically.
Yeah, and on, if you want to go deeper, on ground balls hit 78 miles per hour or lower, they were hitting 353 on those ground balls, which is it's the soft stuff. Like one of the things that's kind of I guess some people might quibble with on defensive run saved is like that little dribbler that's hit like along the line where the ball just kind of dies and it goes like 20 feet. That counts as a hit. So or it counts as a non-out. So we have to, on every play, like, someone has to get debited for that. So someone kind of takes the fall in defensive run saved for a play like that. And it's unfortunate. It's unfortunate for Alex Cobb and Tyler Rogers that they've both gotten bit by that a little bit this year. Yeah, for sure. So to transition a little bit back to, I guess, some individual players, who in your mind have been some players, or actually scratch that. You mentioned one thing that came up right just now. You mentioned that you are a little closer with the Tigers than most teams. You provide some things for the Tigers. A guy who's made some defensive improvements, not just in outs above average, but, especially in outs above average, which is not your expertise, but also in defensive runs saved, has been Jonathan Scope. I think as of a couple of days ago, he had 8, and I think he'll be on pace. So he'll be on pace for about 15 or so, which is a very elite defensive run saved. So any particular takeaways from Jonathan Scope's season?
Yeah, it's funny, and maybe you guys can do this just for fun if you enjoy this sort of thing. I'm pretty sure that he plays a deeper second in the shift than other guys do, and that he's probably got a collection of balls this season that he got to that other people just can't get to because they don't necessarily play as far back in the shift as he does. And he gives, because he can throw and he can make that angled throw to first base from like really far out, maybe 3-4 feet further out than other people. In fact, that was something I looked up for the Tiger broadcast last night. As a matter of fact, for today's game, is that I think it's that he plays like 2 feet deeper in shifts than the average second baseman does. Now, that's on average. So there could be some plays where he's playing 5 or 7 feet deeper. I know that if you watch like the quick pitch highlights, I feel like I've seen more than a few times Jonathan Schoop in shallow right field making a play that others wouldn't. So I would say credit goes for something like that.
That definitely explains a lot. One, I guess, inside joke that Chris and I have is going to Baseball Savants and looking at the bolts leaderboards, where it's a bolt is, a sprint of at least 30 feet per second. And if you look at like anything from 2021 and before that, it's Trey Turner, and then just everybody else is in a different zip code. That's exactly what the outs above average leaderboard is this year with Jonathan Schoop.
Yeah, it's crazy. Like I did see that, and I don't think he has I don't know if he has the lead in defensive runs saved at second base or not, but I did see that in outs above average, it's like him, and then everybody else is kind of far from him. I'm looking at second base right now. Who do we got? Let's see. Second base, Jonathan Schoop has 7 runs saved. Tommy Edman leads with 11. Schoop is right behind Trevor Story with 8. I think what's happening, this would be my guess, is that this is a guess, and I'm not going to say that I know this for sure with how the outs above average works, but my guess is that there are some plays where we're giving the team credit for putting Schoop like in that spot, whereas something like outs above average might be giving him a little bit more for making the play than we would, where we're dividing the credit into 2 places. Some credit to the team, some credit to Schoop, and I have a feeling that we're pushing more credit to the team than maybe outs above averages. That's just a guess.
Interesting.
Very interesting. Very interesting. And Schoop, I believe, is coming up on he's on a contract year, and that leads
He's not hitting.
Yeah,
No,
he's
not at all.
Yeah, maybe the only reason he's getting a contract upcoming is his defense. So makes us curious. Who are some upcoming free agents who are really increasing their value this year with their defense?
I made a list. I've got 3 right in front of me here. One would be Jace Peterson of the Brewers, who is having a defensive season that has taken me by surprise. I think he's at like 10 runs saved or so at third base, and he's got an OPS plus just above 100. So I think at 33, maybe that may allow him to parlay a 2-year deal as opposed to a 1-year deal. That's just a guess if teams buy into the defensive quality there. And then the shortstops, Dansby Swanson of the Braves, who has been up and down this year. He seems to be more up than down defensively, combining with the strong offensive season that he's had. And Xander Bogaerts has been much better for the Red Sox. He's actually positive in defensive runs saved, which is not typical for him. He has been above average at making plays this year. He has. I know I looked this up like probably a month or so ago. He's just better at fielding balls and turning them into outs this year.
Another name that I would like to add to that, he's not an upcoming free agent, but he's had he's improved in defense this season, and there's going to be a lot of storylines regarding his offseason. Rafael Devers, same thing. He's done a much better job this year. He's getting to more balls. He's making the plays he should make, which I think is the big difference maker, because Devers has always been a guy that can make flashy plays. It's just been there are times where he will not make the plays he should, and he's been cleaning that up this year. Like I said, not an upcoming free agent, but there's a lot of talk over, if the Red Sox are going to extend him. Of course, he's got 2 years left on his deal, including this one. And his defense has definitely been improving just as Bogaerts has.
Yep. He's actually, I'm looking at the defensive run save right now. He's not necessarily plus at this point, but he's not terrible minus.
No, he's usually like worse in the league.
Right. And he's not this year. And I'm looking at how we have a thing where I can ascertain like how it's split. And this year, you have range, meaning did you get to the ball? And then you have, we call it throwing. It's really completing the play, because throwing could be, tagging a base too. And he's much better in the throwing aspect than he has been in the past. And in fact, he's cut down on, like, we track mistakes, like we call it defensive misplays. He had 22 errors, and then he had another 27 plays that we could have considered, that could be considered errors, that were some sort of defensive mishandle in some way.
Do errors count in those misplays?
No, so that's separate. So
Okay.
it's 22 plus 27. So we had 49 last year, and right now he is at he is at 18, 11 errors and 7 misplays.
So he'd be on pace for
like 30 something.
Yeah, we're a little more than halfway through the season, so low 30s probably.
Yep.
As opposed to 49. And looking at defensive runs saved, it appears that last year he ended up with -13.
Yep.
This year he's at -2, so he'd be on pace for -4.
Yep. And let me say this too, this is important. I call this the Lucas Judah to Eric Young point, that you can go from, like, you can have a team where you have like an average defender and he becomes really good and you benefit from that. It's like you can see the benefits of that. But it is just as important, in my opinion, to go from really crap to like something close to average. It's a nice improvement. It's funny because you might get deked into thinking that the average guy is a Gold Glove guy when he's really just an average guy, because he's so much better than the guy who was dreadful. That's where I get into the Lucas Judah to Eric Young Jr. And Eric Young Jr. was a good to decent defender, certainly. But Lucas Judah was dreadful. And I say that with all due respect for Lucas Judah's hitting. It made such a difference, both on the field in results and too, like, psychologically for people watching the game, that like you didn't have to fear the ball hit to left field like you did, for someone else. So and so the point is, the grand point of that, Devers going from bad to okay, that's a significant improvement. Like, yes. That's notable.
Yeah, absolutely. And I mean, it makes, like, if you're comparing contracts, like, being an average defender and an excellent hitter versus a very bad defender and an excellent hitter, like, it could be the difference of a Castellanos Schwarber type contract versus, someone who's not that way, like Corey Seager or something like that.
Mm-hmm. Sure. That's a good point.
It's very eye-opening to see what happens when a guy who is awful at defense but only really good at hitting becomes an average hitter. Like Castellanos, Chris just mentioned, he's been having an off year offensively. I think his weighted runs created plus is like just below 100. His F4 is at -0.9 right now.
Yep.
Like, he's almost lost a full game for the Phillies this year.
Yeah, he's had an interesting career. He needed to be in Philadelphia and Cincinnati in the early part of his career, when he was hitting fly balls to right center field that were getting stuck in Comerica Park's big gaps, instead of at this point in his career, where, as you said, like the numbers just aren't there this season, at least.
Yeah.
Yep. And I guess that should do it for this interview. I mean,
we're not going to talk Starling Marte. I
wanted to talk Starling Marte.
All right. Well, I made notes. I made notes. So
okay.
I did what we're not going to talk. All right.
Well, what we could do is I could end this meeting and re-invite you. The thing with the Zoom,
the remaining meeting time is a minute and a half.
All right. How about I get my Starling Marte point in 20 seconds?
Oh, okay. Wow. Okay.
Starling Marte is a very good defensive player when he plays a corner outfield spot. He's not as good in center field. The difference between him and other corner outfielders, at least for this season, that's allowed him to have good defensive run saved, is he's very good on fielding balls that are hit to the deepest part of the park. If you compare him to Castellanos, who's among the worst, there's a big difference. Here's the stat. Marte on deep balls. We have him with 52 catches on 61 opportunities. Castellanos on deep balls, 36 catches on 58 opportunities. 16 fewer in about the same number of chances. A guy who's pretty good and a guy who's not. Was that 20 seconds?
Yeah.
We'll count it. Yeah.
Yeah. Looks like, yeah. Excellent stuff.
He is negative. He is 7 defensive runs saved as an outfielder and -3 outs above average. So I had to know which one it is. Is he good or not?
That's a good question. But we will put our trust in our stats.
Yeah. I believe it too.
Cool. Beautiful. Beautiful. Great to hear. Always a pleasure to have you on. And yeah, I mean, keep doing what you're doing because helps us out a lot. And yeah, it's great.
Thanks for being the defensive correspondent.
Thank you. I appreciate it. And I will be maintaining that title. Thank you.
Absolutely.
All right. And that was our interview with Mark Simon. Lovely as always to have a chat with him about all the defensive topics of baseball. So that leads into players to highlight for good and bad reasons. We'll start with the good with our Friday, July 15, 2022 edition of How About That? What do you have for us today?
So my how about that today? I don't know if there's I got a new phone and they don't have the list on me. Wow. Okay. I don't know off the top of my head if this guy knocks a team off the list, but this is a guy that has been doing pretty well all season, but particularly recently. It's Wilmer Flores of the San Francisco Giants, a team just mentioned in the Mark Simon interview, not for offensive reasons. And Wilmer Flores has been tearing it up on offense. Since June 25th, he is slashing 294, 429, 686 for an 1115 OPS and 208 weighted runs created plus. This season as a whole, he has pulled the ball at a 48.1% rate. That is the 10th highest rate among qualifiers. And when he pulls the ball in this span, he's batting .632 with a 1684 slugging percentage. That average ranks third, and the average leads the 281 batters with at least 25 batted balls in this span. He's also seemed to have an immunity to sinkers this entire season. Sinkers, of course, are one of the more effective pitches, mostly for inducing ground balls, but Wilmer Flores has a .339 batting average and .593 slugging against sinkers. He also has a 13 run value. More importantly, his 46.4% ground ball rate against sinkers ranks the 9th lowest among the 44 hitters with at least 50 batted balls against them. His 13 run value ranks 6th highest for any pitch thrown to a hitter, and he leads all against sinkers. Nobody has a better run value against sinkers this season than Wilmer Flores. He also leads the 111 hitters with at least 50 plate appearances against sinkers with a 5.4 run value per 100. That's almost one more than any other hitter. That measures how effective he is for every 100 sinkers thrown to him. He's been tremendous on them.
Wilmer Flores. How about that? I was actually curious a few days ago about our list. I don't have the full list, but I was looking and I was like, did we have a Giant? And actually, we had I did Mike Yastrzemski like 6 weeks ago. I had to look back. It was the episode I did in my car. Yeah, I was
because I know, like, off the top of my head, I know that like all of the teams on the bottom of like the alphabetical for cities in the league, like almost all of them are checked off. And San Francisco's obviously down there. So I was like, there's probably a good chance we've done them. But yeah, I got a new phone yesterday and I do not have the list on me.
Oof. Well, good news is Daniel has an iPhone after 8 years of Androids.
Yes.
Or maybe technically 9. Yeah.
No, because it was like around, I for some reason I remember the exact day I got my first smartphone. It was July 9th of 2014. Don't ask me why I remember that, but I just do.
Yeah, I remember weird things.
Yeah. I remember the Red Sox faced Chris Sale that night, and I believe Brock Holt hit a walk-off single.
Yeah, I remember I got not my first iPhone, but my second iPhone 6. I was at the AT&T store, and on the way back, I listened on the radio to David Ortiz's 500th home run.
Nice.
So
I remember where I was for that. I was at a restaurant with my family, and I was like, I'm sorry, Mom, I have to bring out my phone during dinner because David Ortiz is coming to the plate. Because he hit 499 and 500 on the same day. And it was the first. I was like, Mom, like David Ortiz could hit 500 right here, and he did.
Yeah, David Ortiz had he had 488 home runs, and then like a week later had 500 home runs.
It was so fast.
Yeah. Yeah. But yeah. Anyway, Giants, unfortunately, but I think that's only our second Giant of the season. So
yeah. All this to say, it has been 8 years since I got my first smartphone, which was an Android. I've been Team Android ever since. But now that I am about to enter the professional world, I feel like the timing is right to switch over to Team iPhone.
Yep. Yeah.
I did have a lot of peer pressure, as Chris knows.
Yes. Shout out to our 4-time guest, Nico Fasella. Daniel taking his talents to Apple. So how about that? And I think it does. Yeah, it crosses a team off the list. I went reliever diving. I'll admit it. I'm looking at an old friend of the Red Sox. Great story. He in 2020 after 7 years out of the
I already know who you're talking about.
Yeah, I mean, after
I think this knocks the team off the list.
After being away from the big leagues, he came back and is a quality reliever for the Colorado Rockies now. I'm talking about Daniel Bard. Daniel Bard, in his last 20 appearances, has a 0.84 ERA and a 421 OPS against in 21 and a third innings pitched. Out of 181 qualifiers, his ERA ranks 6th among relievers. And out of 323 pitchers with 50 plus batted balls against in this span, Bard's expected WOBA against is 3rd lowest, expected batting average against is the lowest, and expected slugging against is the lowest out of 323. He has a 137 expected batting average against and a 190 expected slugging against. This is unbelievable. His average exit velocity has gone from 92.5 miles per hour to 81.6 miles per hour, a 10.9 mile per hour drop. And after removing bunts, his average exit velocity is 3rd lowest out of 323 in this span. His average launch angle has gone from 20 degrees to -1 degrees. And removing bunts, his average launch angle against is 3rd lowest out of 323. Along with that, Daniel Bard has not allowed a barrel on any of the 50 batted balls against him in this span. His ground ball rate has also gone from 43.8% to 64.0%, more than 20% difference. His ground ball rate in this span is 4th highest out of 323. Along with that, before this span, Daniel Bard's percentage of batted balls at -5 degrees or lower was 18.8%. And in this span, his percentage of batted balls at a -5 degree launch angle or lower is 52.0%. And on those batted balls with launch angles of -5 or lower against Bard in this span, hitters are hitting and slugging 115. So, obviously getting a launch angle of -5 degrees or lower produces very good results for a pitcher. All of this can be explained by his sinker usage and execution. He has gone from using his sinker 39.9% of the time to 59.9% of the time in this span. So exactly a 20% change in usage for that sinker. And in this 20 game span for Daniel Bard, Hitters are hitting and slugging 103 off that sinker. So Daniel Bard really turning into a great sinker baller, getting ground balls, getting very soft contact. He's been unbelievable for the past couple of months, and he's getting a.
How about that?
That is tremendous.
Yeah, it's
some of your best work.
Yeah, I mean, like a 10.9 mile per hour drop in exit velocity is I've never seen that before.
You got my attention right there. Like I was locked in for the rest of the segment.
Yeah, it's pretty unbelievable. And I guess more significantly, trade deadline's coming up. He's probably going to be one of the most valuable relievers on the market.
Yeah, he is.
He could go back to his original team with the Red Sox. I know Rob Bradford's suggested that a couple of times, want to do that. A Red Sox media member, Springfield College graduate, by the way.
Yes.
So now we go from the highs to the lows, where we're talking about players or subjects that have been underperforming in our Friday, July 15, 2022 edition of
Slightly Alarming.
Who do you have for us today?
So I am touching up on a team that you dove into last time on Slightly Alarming. And unfortunately, I am also looking at one of your players to watch. I'm talking about Brandon Marsh today, who has just been very much struggling since April 29th. That's a large chunk of the season. He is slashing 197, 246, 286 for a 532 OPS and 49 weighted runs created plus. That weighted runs created plus ranks dead last among the 162 qualifiers. His 39.4% strikeout rate is also the highest among qualifiers over this span. And since April 29th, 16.6% of his batted balls have had a launch angle between 22 and 34 degrees and an exit velocity that was below the hard hit threshold. So really the only thing you can hope to do there is pull the ball and hope to find a gap. But he has the second highest rate of said batted balls among the 307 qualifiers with at least 100 batted balls over that span. And on said batted balls, he is hitting 185 with a 259 slugging. He just hasn't found it. A lot of this can be explained by the fact that a lot of those balls have either been to the opposite field or straight away, because you obviously lose a lot of your power naturally as a hitter when you go to the opposite field. And obviously center field, it's much deeper out there. It's much tougher to find one that goes over someone's head, finds the gap. So Brandon Marsh has been very much struggling, and he's just not getting the bat on the ball in the right way.
Yeah, Brandon Marsh.
Slightly alarming.
He's also my slightly alarming.
We've done this so many times this year.
Yeah. Well, I mean, sometimes
I think it's the fifth time.
Yeah. It sometimes it's just obvious.
Yeah.
It's like, oh, because when I saw, Brandon Marsh, I found a span and I found that he was last in weighted runs created plus, and I was like, oh, this is a great find. I got to use this. I used his last 51 games where he's I think your span might have been better because
my span was probably definitely longer. I can tell you that.
Yeah, in his last 51 games, he's hitting 185 with a 502 OPS and a 38.3% strikeout rate. Out of 166 qualifiers in that span. Average is third worst, OBP is second worst, slugging is third worst, OPS is worst, weighted runs created plus is worst. Average exit velocity has gone from 89.5 miles per hour to 85.1 miles per hour, so a 4.4 mile per hour drop. And his average exit velocity in this span since May 15th is 17th lowest out of 232 batters with 90 plus batted balls. That particularly is pretty alarming because one of the things that stood out for Brandon Marsh last year, and one of the reasons I picked him as a player to watch, was his average exit velocity was 92 miles per hour. His hard hit rate was above 50% last year. So I was thinking oh, even if he has a large strikeout rate, he's hitting the ball hard when he's hitting the ball. And, he had a crazy line drive rate, crazy hard hit rate, and his hard hit line drive rate was like first out of over 300. But he doesn't have the exit velocity this year. He's not hitting the balls nearly as hard. He's not hitting the ball hard as often, not nearly as often. So yeah, I mean that's why he's been alarming. And also, I think whenever we do an Angels slightly alarming, it's funny because it's like, oh, this is why Shohei Ohtani and Mike Trout deserve MVPs despite their team not doing well, because you have a lot of underperformance.
This is the second straight episode where we've talked about an Angel. By the way, one thing I really appreciate about when we both pick the same player is it really like displays how differently our approaches are, because we're pretty consistent with our approaches. Like we talked about the same player. You talked about like his changes in exit velo, launch angle. I talked about the differences in batted ball data. I think it's very cool that those differences are always there.
Yeah, and we bring one big slightly alarming from different perspectives.
Or how about that same thing?
Yeah. So,
but it's mostly been slightly alarming this year.
Yeah, we either like really highlight someone's struggles, or really highlight someone's accomplishments. But this time it's their struggles, and it's Brandon Marsh, who from both you and I are getting a
slightly alarming.
All right. So that does it for players to highlight for good and bad reasons. Now we'll get into a preview of the weekend ahead. I will be doing series
last one
watch
for a while.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Last one until, well, actually last preview for a little bit.
Yeah.
And last, but
by the way, the matchups, like the potential matchups after the break, are probably gonna be so good.
Yeah, they usually do that. Like
the best all-star snubs all facing each other.
Yeah. Oh yeah, definitely pitching matchups for sure. So my series to watch include Marlins Phillies, because the Marlins are only 3 games out of a wild card spot. And the Phillies are in that wild card race. Marlins have stuck around, so watch out for them. If they get on a hot streak, they could find their way into a playoff spot. Then you have Rays Orioles. Orioles are on fire. They're only a game and a half out of a wild card spot right now. And so, yeah, I mean, if they, they have the ability to gain some ground on the Rays right now. So watch out for them. It's been a while. I don't know if I've really ever highlighted an Orioles series, but here I am. It's time to watch them. And then the other series to watch is Giants Brewers. That started last night in a great pitching matchup between Corbin Burns and Carlos Rodon, the FIP leaders of the last 2 years. But yeah, Giants Brewers. Brewers leading the NL Central, and the Giants are in the mix for that for those NL wildcard spots. So yeah, those are the series to watch. What do you got for the day-by-day matchups?
So I mean, one of the biggest reasons to watch any individual pitcher is just Sandy Alcantara. He's pitching tonight in Miami. Phillies Marlins, Kyle Gibson versus Sandy Alcantara. That's going to be a great one. Ian Anderson versus Patrick Corbin in Braves Nats. Nathan Eovaldi making his return from the IL to face Jordan Montgomery in Red Sox Yankees at Yankee Stadium. How about Zach Greinke versus Alek Manoah? I would love to. I'm sure there'll be some stat tonight where it was like when Alek Manoah was born, Zach Greinke was this years old, like 19 years old probably. He was already drafted by the Royals, whatever.
Yes.
Because Manoah's 23 and Greinke's what, like 39?
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah. You will have Tyler Wells versus Luis Patino in Orioles Rays, 2 younger pitchers. Robbie Ray will be facing the Rangers for the Mariners. Mariners are on an 11-game win streak. They had a big comeback win last night. Robbie Ray, by the way, 85 plate appearances versus the current Texas Rangers roster, a 198 WOBA against and a 214 xWOBA against, 38.8% strikeout rate. So look out for Robbie Ray to have a big outing tonight.
Yeah,
it's very possible.
And he has a .91 ERA in his last 6 starts.
Yep. Michael Kopech has been struggling lately, but he'll be taking on Devin Smeltzer and the Twins tonight at Target Field. Hunter Green versus Andre Palante in the bowl of interesting guys who are kind of still finding themselves. Jose Quintana versus Herman Marquez in Rockies versus Pirates at Coors. Madison Bumgarner versus Yu Darvish. That is a 2014 classic if I've ever seen one.
Yeah.
They'll be facing each other in Diamondbacks Padres. Brandon Woodruff versus Alex Wood in Brewers Giants. This is an interesting one. Taijuan Walker versus Marcus Stroman at Wrigley. Marcus Stroman will be making his first start against the Mets ever since he left there in free agency. And the matchup of the night comes from the Freeway Series. Dodgers Angels. You have Clayton Kershaw versus Patrick Sandoval.
Yeah, that's a solid,
fun one.
Solid lefty matchup.
Absolutely. So on Saturday, matchups aren't as good, but they're there. Lance Lynn versus Dylan Bundy in White Sox Twins. This is quite remarkable. You will have Marcus Stroman going on 0 days rest to face the Mets again because he's that petty. Just unbelievable the things that this guy does.
Yeah.
Nick Lodolo versus Miles Michaelis in Reds Cardinals. Mitch Keller will be facing the Rockies at Coors. Mitch Keller, that'll be interesting to see how he fares there because he's been throwing his sinker a lot. So it'll be cool to see what happens there. Anyway, Logan Gilbert will be facing Spencer Howard and Mariners Rangers, a couple of young starters there. Max Fried will be facing the Nationals for the Braves at Nats Park. Michael Pineda versus Cal Quantrill in Tigers Guardians. Verlander will be facing the A's in Houston. That'll be a good one. Dean Kremer will be facing the Rays. The Rays haven't announced a starter yet for the Orioles. And Sean Manaea versus Tyler Gilbert in Diamondbacks Padres in San Diego. Julio Urias versus Jose Suarez in a lefty-lefty battle in Dodgers Angels, another one of those. Eric Lauer versus Alex Cobb in the matchup of guys who have been struggling that shouldn't be. And matchup of the day, I think, is going to come from Red Sox Yankees. It's going to be Nick Pivetta versus Jameson Taillon.
Right. Yep.
So then on Sunday, it'll be the finale of the first half. No Sunday Night Baseball this week. The Futures game will be on, so definitely watch that one if you can. Jose Barrios will be facing the Blue Jays for the against the Royals, actually against the Omaha Storm Chasers. Sorry. I'm sure you all have seen that story, but man, that roster is very depleted right now. Did you get a chance to see their lineup yesterday?
No.
They actually won.
Oh, well, yeah.
Omaha Storm Chasers.
Well, I saw
someone
got their first home run.
Nick Prado is actually in the lineup. That was your player to watch.
Yeah.
His major league debut. Spencer Strider will be facing the Nationals for the Braves. Shane Bieber will be facing the Tigers against Bo Brisky of the Tigers. He's been pretty underrated this year. Corey Kluber will be facing the Orioles for the Rays. Aaron Nola will be facing the Marlins for the Phillies. Matchup has been announced there. Dylan Cease will be facing the Twins for the White Sox. Let's see. Logan Webb will be facing the Brewers for the Giants in San Francisco. Merrill Kelly and Mike Clevenger will be facing each other in Diamondbacks Padres. And matchup of the day comes once again from Red Sox Yankees. This is an easy one. It's Chris Sale versus Garrett Cole. I think it's going to be the first time they faced each other since Garrett Cole came over.
Yeah. I mean,
when was the last time Chris Sale even faced the Yankees? Did he face them last year?
Yeah, I don't know. He typically
did.
He did well. He typically did well against them up until 2019.
Yeah. Oops, that's 2022. He pitched well his last time out. 5 shutout innings, 5 strikeouts, 1 walk, 3 hits. Pretty well. He did not face them last year, so this will be Chris Sale's first time facing the Yankees since 2019. Just for reference, his last outing against them was
Sunday Night Baseball.
Yeah, and he got rocked.
Yeah.
Yep.
And then the end of his season was soon after.
Yeah. Yep. It happened.
Because I remember
what a weird year that was.
Yeah, the Red Sox won the first 3 games of that series against the Yankees. And it was like, oh, sweep them. And I think they had a playoff spot secured, and then they lost 8 in a row. And then the season was basically over.
He lost twice to the Yankees in that same losing streak. He lost on July 28th. I specifically remember that game. And then he lost on August 3rd in the first end of a doubleheader where they got smacked. He had a game score of 15.
Oh, yeah. I think he got thrown out, too. Like on his way out, though, because he didn't get thrown out.
Didn't walk anyone, though.
Yeah, that's solid.
Yeah, I remember that July 28th outing because I was at a graduation party and I did not have internet access because we were in like the downstairs area of some restaurant where you had to go to like a specific corner of the restaurant where nobody was to get service. And I was like, I feel weird going there, but I want to know the score of the game. Yeah.
Yeah. Always funny to hear random stories of where
we were at random places
for Red Sox games.
But like not even ones that have any significance. Like I remember a random Brock Holt RBI single in a game where we faced Chris Sale. It wasn't against Chris Sale. He just happened to have started the game.
Well, we hope you enjoyed this one. If you're listening on Apple Podcasts or Spotify and want to watch the conversation as it happens, go to our YouTube channel and subscribe to the YouTube channel. Also watch the shorts. Also, if you want to follow us on social media, follow me on Twitter at Chris_Gianta. Follow Daniel on both Twitter and Instagram at Daniel_Curran, and follow the show Instagram at Above Replacement Radio. And yeah, we hope you enjoy this one, and we hope to see you on Tuesday, where we will be recapping the Home Run Derby and doing probably some mid-season awards. So yes. We will see you then.
This conversation is over.